Hi, this video is for my grandparents, Grandma and Grandpa North, my father, and my brother, and my mother. These are explanations for the Christmas gifts that I sent you guys this year, Christmas 2022. I like adding videos to explain the odd gifts that you received since I made them myself. The gift is not so much the trinket, but the thought that counts, right? So I'm going to go and kind of go through the pictures and little videos I took while I was making your gift. And yeah, then you'll understand the crazy that went into it. So we'll start with Grandma and Grandpa and my mother. I made you both the same gift, and I'll tell you why. I made a little dish that goes next to the sink for my mom a couple years ago, and she used to put her sponges for cleaning her dishes in it, and she called me a couple months ago and told me she was very sorry she broke it and she'd like another for Christmas. And so I decided this was a good opportunity to explore a new avenue in making things for me. Casting. I've wanted to do aluminum casting in a while, and I thought it would be a kind of a funny joke if I replaced her sponge bowl with an aluminum one. And I dare you to break it, because you can't unless you run it over with Dad's truck or something. So, okay, brief overview. This is, if I don't click on it, this is kind of what it looks like rendered in RhinoCAD. And I'll kind of briefly explain how I made it. So if I switch to the front view, this I made a little differently than how I normally make things in CAD. I did it just by drawing. Normally I use algorithms and stuff. This is so cool. I've not done the screen recording before. So okay, focus on this line, this curve, just the one I'm outlining with the cursor. That's what I drew to be the profile of your bowl. And then what I did was this is the XZ plane. I rotated this drawing around the Z axis to create the mirrored half on the right. And then if I move myself back over here, then so that's what I did. So I drew this profile, revolved it around the Z axis, which created a circle, right? So if I look from the top, this was a circle, but then I scrunched it in on the y-axis to make an oval. And so it made this oval shape. It's got a nice little dish on the bottom, and then obviously it's a dish on top. And then separately, just to make it extra bling, I added these lights that you cannot see. There's a panel light on the bottom and two lights on the top. And then when I switch to render it, it looks like that because the lights are different colors. Isn't that nice? Isn't that lovely? However, you can see a little bit of a ring around it on the bottom, and that's due to I didn't quite get this right. I didn't do the calculus where the curve comes down and whatever angle that is right there. I just eyeballed it, which resulted in error. This ring, but in how I made it, hopefully I covered that up so you couldn't tell. Okay, so if I go to my pictures now, what I did next was I 3D printed it, your dish, on my 3D printer, and I haven't used my printer in a while, so the print heads didn't do perfect. The stuff on the right is PVA, polyvinyl alcohol. It dissolves in water. And the stuff on the left is the actual printed part. It's this very tough black plastic. So it looks kind of messy, but it came out good. Here's the printer as it's going. So it took, I think it was like 5 hours to print, something like that. It's mostly hollow. Here's my kitty, Leaf. He's inspecting the goods when it was finished. And I think he approved. So the printed part actually has some mold release wax on it, so that's the kind of lighter color. So I sanded it and coated it in mold release wax, hoping that would make a difference. I don't know if it did. But you can tell with how 3D printers work is they're printed in layers, right? So that's important for how your part came out, because you can actually see the layer lines in the finished part, which I think is extra cool. So after you have your printed part, you actually have to make a casting box. So I made a box. It's got 2 halves out of just plywood, just some junk plywood I had laying around from previous projects. I assembled it though with pegs, dowels, wooden dowels, and glue. That's it, no screws, and that's my new favorite way of making things, is with dowels. So you got 2 halves, and they have to line up perfectly with no gap in between. So I put them on my CNC machine and put a fly cutter on the machine, just to have a perfectly flat surface where these 2 halves will come together. So after you do that with your boxes here, right, you also have to put guideposts on the sides of the boxes. That way when you assemble them, they line up perfectly before they touch. So okay, there's our 3D printed part right in the middle where my cursor is. What I did was I did the left side first. So you flip it upside down and you put your part in the middle. And this is casting sand. It's oh, now I forget what it's called, but it's a very fine sand with a little bit of oil content in it. And you put it in there and you like hammer it down, because you're making this casting reservoir for it. So you hammer it down so it's really, really, really tight. And it's covered in talc powder, which helps things separate after. So after you do one side, you keep your 3D printed part in there, and you put the right side of the box on the left side of the box, and you repeat the procedure. You dust it with talc powder, and you start putting sand in there, and you hammer it down. And so this creates the negative, the mold of what your part is, which is your 3D printed part, right? But you can see that it's got the 3D printed lines in there, which is kind of cool. So when you take it out and you very carefully pop your 3D printed part out of there, you'll have this right and left side matching sides. And after you do that, and on one of them, so I made Mom's dish first, and when I went to separate these 2 sides, I accidentally scratched. I just put a scratch in it, the side of this, and you'll see that in the bowl that you have, Mom. It's got something on the inside of it. I think it looks super cool. But it is technically a flaw, so I'm sorry. See, like I got just a little itty bitty scratch there, but you can see the 3D printed lines, like it came out really good. Yeah, so I'm sorry for the scratch. This is what it looked like. I don't remember quite why I put all these clamps on there, because it's already got the sand in there and stuff, so I don't remember why there's clamps on there, but there is. Anyway, you can see that in this picture, I kind of dug out the channels that the liquid aluminum will flow into. So you'll pour it in here in this little reservoir. As it overfills the reservoir, it'll fall down this chimney into the bottom, and there's a little chute that goes to where the part is in the middle. And then there's another little chute that comes out to this hole here. It goes all the way down to the middle. And so what you do is you fill up the aluminum and you wait until it comes out the other side, and then you're done. So that's what it looked like before. This is the bottom of it. Yeah. All right. So when you're pouring liquid aluminum, and there's a lot of it, it's going to be, I don't exactly know, somewhere around 1500 to 2000 degrees. I didn't have a thermocouple to check before I did the pour, but it's going to be real hot, so you can't do that, and it's heavy, so you can't do that with your hands, right? So I had to I used my 20-ton floor press to bend a whole bunch of little bends in this ring, which happens to fit the size of the flask that the aluminum's going to go into. And then just a pipe from, these are both from Home Depot. And I got to weld this stuff together before I can even do the pour. So little projects within projects. So I do the weld, it comes out looking great. I look like little Bo Peep with the staff. It's awesome. Anyway, down here is the flask that the aluminum goes into and gets melted. It's made out of 100% pure graphite, like pencil lead, so it won't, you know, burn up. So here's my setup. I've got it all laid out, ready to do the pour, right? So and I've got some videos that I'll put in here too, somewhere in here, maybe now, I don't know. So I've got the bars of aluminum in there, and this aluminum, I'm sorry if I get the number wrong. I think it's A324 or A356. It's an aluminum alloy that's used for casting. And I think these used to be cylinder heads or engine blocks from like race cars. I bought them off a guy on eBay. He melted down these engines and put them into bars, and I bought them and turned them into your presents. So you currently have an engine sitting on your counter. Yep, here I am getting ready to do the pour. Got all my stuff, and there's the finished part. So I should put little videos in here now to explain how I got here.
Tell me, how excited are you for the metal casting?
I'm afraid of it exploding and covering me in liquid aluminum, which is about 1200 degrees, but it's really fun, and I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, so I'm highly educated on this subject matter, so it should be fun.
Nice.
These are...
Yes.
You're very cute. Should get brand. Okay.
Looks like a flying saucer.
Ah, it smells funny.
Yeah.
Hold on. You ready?
Yep.
Oh, it came out really good. You can even see the lines from the 3D printer in there.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome!
Oh yeah, like a fingerprint. How do you think you sound?
Well, just now I was like, wow, it came out really good. Like, woo, yeah.
The 3D printed part's in the back, and the aluminum part is in the front. And this is when I did. I took it out and sanded it, and then after I sanded it, I sanded it some more, and then some more, and then some more. Got to the wet dry sandpaper, and then finally polished it on with a buffing wheel. But yeah, I think that looks awesome. The 3D printed part, the aluminum part, the 3D printed part, and the aluminum part. There you go. Okay, so I'm very pleased with myself. If you can't tell, that looks nice. Yep. So at first I thought it looked good just like this, but then I thought, you know, what if I went the extra mile and actually polished it? That'd be cool. So I ended up doing that. Oh, okay. So I got some pictures of before and after. I don't know what these pictures are for. Okay. Yeah, so I'll just go through these. The videos that I should have put in here by now should explain how these were made. I'm just showing pictures at this point. Starting to look polished. Okay, now we're on to the next gift. Yeah, so okay, let's do that. The next gift. We'll go and have a look at it. Boom. Okay. No, don't save changes. Okay, so this is the next gift. And just for fun, how about I actually made a time-lapse video of it too. Boom, look at it go. I'm dizzy already. All right, so it's a Bluetooth speaker, and there's a phone on top. I think that's the exact dimensions of an iPhone or a Pixel or something. I don't know. But anyway, I used it in modeling this thing. Oh, it is a Pixel. That's, yeah, see, look, there it is, and there it's not. There it is, there it's not. Okay, so let's talk about how this was made. This was made in my traditional way of making things. It's far more involved than the bowl, which I could just draw. All right. Bonk. So this is a Bluetooth speaker. I'm not going to talk about what all these things mean, but each one of these, it's designed using algorithms. So it's designed with, you know, X, Y, Z coordinates, and everything is relative to coordinates. And that's how I design every aspect of it, including the speakers themselves and the parts that are inside the speakers. Those are also modeled if I hide this, I can go back and show that stuff. Let's see. Off, off, off. Left, off, off, off. No more roof, no more back panel. So this is what I started with. So this is just a Bluetooth speaker kit with a battery inside. And I modeled this by, I actually had the speaker kit, and then I just used calipers to like measure radii and such, and came up with the model. So everything from that model is my starting point, which I think is somewhere in here. Anyway, like I said, I don't want this to be boring, but everything about it is designed programmatically. And if I turn my outputs, on, then I can show what that looks like. So if I turn off the renders, then and turn this to wireframe, there, this is the output of that program that I wrote. And for any part of it, I can turn that off too. Let's see. Let's see. No more phone. We'll just do here. The part that's cool is the way I design it. I have it to be configurable in real time. So I've got how far apart the speakers are, everything, how tilted that the speakers are. So they're tilted 23.5 degrees to the back. Clearance for machining, so you got 10,000ths of an inch for glue in between the parts. All of it, it's all configurable. It's really cool. So if I, in real time, play with, let's say, the tilt angle, there, if you can see it moving a little, then you can see this is how I can kind of dial it in when I'm doing my design. Whatever I want to do, I can just kind of dial it in. And when I'm ready, I can bake it in and actually start making parts off of it. So that's what I did. That's how these things are made. And bunk, there we go. Oh, I didn't do it. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. And then, yeah, then you can go and render it and make it look all cool and stuff. And then separately, I throw all that stuff into machining files for my CNC machine. The Axiom machine CNCs are the way to go. They're so cool. All right, so this is, I went to, on my birthday, November 7th, I went and got a piece of walnut. It's not even a very good piece, but I got the best piece they had at the store down the street and brought it home. And that was, this is what your presents were made out of, big piece of walnut. Separately, I wanted to do a CNC'd inlay. So the speaker that you have is made out of walnut, but the inlay, the design that's in the center, is made out of bird's eye maple. Arguably, it was a waste of bird's eye maple because the designs that are in here are so intricate that you can't tell it's bird's eye, but it is. So I made Kenneth's speaker first for him and his wife, Ken and Abby. So I chose this design to go in there, thinking that was kind of a cool looking design. But I'll show you in a couple pictures that the detail that's in here is so fine it actually became a problem, and I had to use a microscope to fix it. So for the second one that I made for my dad, I chose this design because the lines in it are not as fine. So I thought it might be more successful, although I think both of them came out pretty nice. So there's my brothers, and this is a picture of just cutting out the inlay. So you do it with a V-carve bit. This is a 60-degree bit, and I watched a whole bunch of videos on YouTube for how this is done. So yeah, after you program in the design, and then the computer tells the CNC what it needs to do to be successful in what you want. So it cuts the design out from the rear of the design. So the part that you see is at this intersection of this flat plane and what it's cutting out. So the part that you actually see when it's done is the opposite side of this flat plane. It's really pretty cool. Oh, that's loud. That's enough of that. It's loud. Anyway. So dramatic. So anyway, it came out looking kind of hairy, so I used my microscope to really look at what was going on there. And so these are two halves of the inlay. So the bird's eye maple's on the left, and your walnut has a mirrored, like, opposite cut in it on the right. So to get them to actually go together well, they have to be perfect before you glue them together. And I glued them together with clear epoxy, tabletop epoxy. So yeah, it took me like an hour, if not more than an hour, with the microscope and a razor blade to clean up the bird's eye maple, to get all these little whiskers off of it. And I figured that was kind of crazy. So anyway, the lines you see are these little ridges that are in the part. Yeah. Anyway, so after cutting out all the parts and kind of mocking them up like that, it starts to look like the design in what you saw from CAD. Hold on. Okay. So I took a selfie, because you have to take selfies. So I put a coat of well, no, I forgot what coating this actually was. I think I don't remember what it was. It doesn't matter, because I sanded it off and redid the finish on it like 5 times. So hopefully it came out nice. Anyway, I love walnut. It's my favorite. I hope you like it too. So yeah, you can see the parts that I cut out, but I want to kind of highlight just for fun. I put speaker cloth on the fronts of the speakers, which I didn't feel like modeling in CAD, but I'd added a relief in the walnut for where the speaker cloth rolls over and you can glue it into place, and I think it came out pretty well. All right, so there's an inlay part sanded, just to kind of see what it looks like. It's my first time ever doing an inlay, so I think that's pretty good for a first try. Although I learned a lesson that the detail, that's pretty much the limit to what would be feasible for an inlay in terms of fine detail, because that's crazy. All right. Let's see. Yeah, so that's what the bird's eye maple look like, and that's your part. So yeah, like I said, I made Kenneth's first, and this is me gluing it up. This is before I glued it up. I was just mocking it up, seeing what it looked like. But yeah, so there's your speaker cloth. There's the parts. Make sure everything looks nice. Just teasing myself with what it's going to look like when it's done. So I think these parts are just laying on top of each other, but they're not glued yet, I don't think. Yeah. Okay, so random orbital sander hooked up to an air compressor is the way to go for everything in the future. You should try it. It's awesome. I got a spray booth because I sprayed the final finishes on them, and yeah, I saw this was on sale for Black Friday, so I picked it up. It's awesome.
Positive talking, we'll go for a walk is the hope of Janice and Jen. Mom and Dad can hardly wait for school to start again. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
There we go. And there you go. Inlaid part. Magic. So you can actually tell that this is birdside maple. You can see some of the little dots. You couldn't see that with Kenneth's because way too fine. So lesson learned. And there's all your Christmas presents. I hope you enjoyed it and enjoy how they were made as much as your actual presents. So I made a dish for Mom. I'd like to see you try to break it, and then I made one for Grandma and Grandpa because it's nice. I think it's nice. Made a speaker for my brother because he made for me a couple years ago a model. It's about yay big, an F-18, and it's the most beautiful. It's literally like a museum quality piece that should be in an air museum someplace, but instead it's in my house. So I had to return the favor by making something for him and his wife. And my dad's making me stuff for Christmas, and I don't know if he made one for my birthday, but for Christmas for sure. He's made me a bunch of things, so I returned the favor by making him things. So I made him a matching Bluetooth speaker. Important note about your speakers: it has a 1/8 inch audio jack in the back, so you can and a USB port. So if you plug it in with the USB, it'll charge the battery that's in there. If you leave it plugged in, it'll work forever. And if you plug it into your speaker output of your computers, you can use it as a PC speaker, or you can alternatively, what I did was in the kitchen, you just leave it on the counter, and I highly recommend, like you heard a second ago, some Michael Bublé Christmas. Sounds awesome. Death metal and shredder guitar sounds like garbage, so don't listen to that on the speakers. Just stick with the Bublé and you should be fine. Yeah, so like I say, those are your gifts. I hope you enjoyed them. I definitely enjoyed making them. All right, Merry Christmas. Bye.
How do you think you sound?
Well, just now I was like, wow, it came out really good. Like, woo, yeah.